it's Penny here, and today I wanted to do the best books you've never heard of book tag. So this is a book tag all about books that haven't had many reviews on Goodreads. So you can do like a little filter on Goodreads and order all your read books by the number of ratings and see how many books you have that don't have many ratings. So the first question for this tag is how many books that you've read are below 250, 125 ratings. And I think I have a decent number of these, although not that many. So I've got 45 under 250, 30 under 100, and then 19 under 25. Then the next question is, how did you hear about the most obscure books you've read? So most of them are New Zealand self-published books. I remember at one point when I was trying to be more committed to writing myself, I followed a bunch of New Zealand writers on Twitter, and then I ended up buying a few of their books. So those are most of them. There's also a few like that are books from my childhood, so I think they're just much older than Goodreads, and that's why they don't have many reviews. Like a few of them are like books that used to be owned by my mum, and they're definitely not classics. They're not that level of quality, so most people haven't read them, or if they have read them, they're probably not using Goodreads. The next question is, what are some of your favorite unknown books and why should more people read them? So I've picked out 3 of my favorites. The first one is This Other World by A.C. Buchanan. So this is an Own Voices novel about an autistic woman who moves from Earth to this other planet and then finds that she fits in much better on this other planet, but then some strange things start happening on that planet and she becomes a part of that. I thought the story was so well written. The alien culture was so interesting, and the mystery around what's going on is also really interesting. And of course, since it's Own Voices, I think the autistic representation in this really weird science fiction setting was really well done. Just definitely recommend this book. Then I also have Sun Touched by J.C. Hart. So this one, it says Diamara book 1, but she hasn't continued this series, and so I wish more people would read this so that she would be more motivated to continue this series. It's about this girl who lives on this planet and they're told you can't go out in the sun because when you go out in the sun you get sun sickness, but then she ends up having to go out in the sun, I think actually while she's pregnant, and then she's kind of like starts experiencing some different things, and the question is it real or is it this sun sickness that they've been warned about? I really enjoyed it, and I would love to get more of this story at some point. Then lastly, I have this one, which is one of my favorites. It is Maui and Other Maori Legends by Peter Gossage. This is like a bind up of these different books that I used to read when I was in primary school, and I think they're just really common in New Zealand primary schools. I've shown this book in some other videos before. I love the art. I love all the different legends about Maui, and I think anyone who has like an interest in Maori mythology and Maui should at least consider these books as an option, just because of the beautiful art. Let's find some. Look at this picture. Is like Maui about to pull New Zealand up from under the sea. I always love the ones of Maui catching the sun. Those are the ones I remember the most from my childhood. But honestly, it's just a really beautiful book, and I think more people should read it, but it's probably very hard to get your hands on, so sorry. I don't actually even remember where I got it from. The next question is, do you think the most popular books you've read are usually better than the least popular books? Not really, although I mean a lot of my unknown books that I've read are self-published, which does have an impact on quality a little bit, just because authors that are self-publishing usually have a lot less support going into that work, not because they're not better writers necessarily. I also really hate the way that Goodreads uses the number of ratings to measure popularity, because I don't think that's what popularity is at all. Like, surely the rating should play a part in that. What if everybody just hate reads a book and then it has like 1 million 1-star ratings? Are you really going to call that popular? It actually makes me really annoyed when at the end of the year Goodreads gives you like that year in reading overview, and it always says least popular book you've read, and for me it's always a self-published book, and it makes me really annoyed because it's like implying that that book isn't very good. but often it's a book that I've really loved. So I hate that. The next question is, why do you think your least read books are so unknown? Self-publishing, it's a lot harder to get your books out there, and that's what a lot of these books are. I also think just the ones from my childhood, who's gonna know them? Like, I'll give you an example of some of the ones that I have on my list that aren't self-published. So I have this, The Mystery of the Crimson Ghost. This is a book I got out of my Uncle Danny's wardrobe when I was like 10, and it's been a while since I read it. I'd like to read it again, but it's old, right? Like, when was it published? It was published in 1969, so you can kind of see that it's not going to be a classic, so it's just not going to be on most people's radar now when we are, is it 50 years later? Crazy. The other one that I have is this one, Destiny's Child, which I want to read again as well. So this is one that my mum had. It's got my mum's name in the front. It's really old. When was this published? Probably later. 1970 this was published. So it's about the same age, 50 years old. Goodreads is not 50 years old. When did Goodreads start? Hang on. 2006 Goodreads starts. So those books were already 36 years old by the time Goodreads started out. So really, those books had probably already peaked by the time Goodreads was available for people to be able to log having read that book. I'd love to know how many people read these books and whether they were popular in their time, but who knows? I think all the rest of the ones I have here are self-published books. So Weather Child by Philippa Ballantyne, she's self-published. I really enjoyed this, although I wish that it had had some more support in editing it because it had so much more potential, but it is still a really great book. And then I also have a couple of other books by J.C. Hart. This is actually a quartet, and I only have the first one. They're very short. I'd love to have the whole series, even though they're a bit romance heavy for me. This one, she ended up binding it up with 2 other parts into a slightly longer story. Which I loved. This story is really great. It's like intergenerational, so each part is a different generation and it kind of fits into the maiden, mother and crone structure. I wish I had the full version of this too. Maybe she published it physically? I'm not sure. The next question is, do you like reading unknown books or popular books more? I mean, reading unknown books more has a certain feeling of like knowing something that other people don't know, which is somewhat satisfying. But I always get FOMO when people are reading books that I don't know about, even when they're books that I know I'm not going to like. I'm getting better at that, at not reading books that I think I'm not going to like, but I definitely get FOMO. But still, overall, in the end, I don't think that popular books are necessarily better, so I try not to let the hype impact my decision on what to read. And I actually find like reading books that haven't been hyped at all is better because you go in with no expectations. And sometimes that means you can actually enjoy it more because you're not expecting it to blow you away. And the last question is, do you want to read more obscure books? And yes, of course, I would love to find more books that people don't know about that I discover are amazing, because then I can help them to be more well known with my tiny little channel. So lastly, the thing I need to do is to tag people. I'm actually going to tag Gaia Athena because I think since she comes from the Netherlands, she might have some books that are amazing that we've never heard about. I'd at least like to know how many. Also Alyssa's Shelves, because I think maybe she reads some books that I don't hear about on other people's channels. Also Stasi Rose, because I know she's been wanting some tags to be forced to do, so you can do this one if you have some obscure books on your Goodreads list. And of course, actually anybody who feels like they have a decent number of obscure books on their Goodreads list, I would love to hear some more about them, or even just comment them down below. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you're having a really great day, keeping safe, and I will see you next time.